What are some things people can do to show up better on audio if they don't know where to start?
Let's face it, I don't know how long folks will stay glued to your podcasts, but I think you always have to proceed with the assumption that at any moment they could drop out.
Especially in today's day and age, people doing audio podcasts, people are doing videos, people are doing lives. You've done a few lives. Being on audio and speaking well is really important, and it's becoming a more important skill as we go. So what are some things people can do to show up better on audio if they don't know where to start?
Well, in fact, I would say the way to start would be to plan a little bit, at least have an idea of what you want to talk about, at least some points.
Right.
Because let's face it, I don't know how long folks will stay glued to your podcasts. Here I come. Do they just listen for a few seconds and drop out? Do they listen for 30 minutes? Or does it vary? But I think you always have to proceed with the assumption that at any moment they could drop out. Not just because they get impatient, but sometimes people have better things to do or more important things to do. They may have a million reasons why they can't stick around. But basically, you have to come from the idea that people's time is precious, that they are doing you a favor. And this is how I feel about performing as well. Look, when I do a gig as a guitar player, somebody's going into the trouble, showering, changing their clothes, driving 10 miles to hear me, coming into the club, sitting down and listening and giving me their attention. That's a huge compliment right there before I played a note. It's the same thing with any kind of milieu like this. Look, we're grateful. We need the audiences. We need the audiences more than they need us. That's my viewpoint.
Absolutely, yes.
And so I got to come to the table with something that's going to make it worth listening to. At least have a page with a few points on there, unless you have it all in your head. I don't trust my ability to keep everything in my head. I have done it, but there's nothing wrong if you keep a page of points in front of you while you're talking, great, and then just speak spontaneously to your points and allow digressions to happen. But there should be a sense that by the time you've completed this talk, they are taking away value, because that's your way of saying thank you for coming today, for listening to me, first of all. And it also helps your own cause, because if you give them value, they will come back again and say, hey, I got good value last time. Maybe I can get more of that.
Please, sir. I want some more.
So that's thing one about what folks could do. The other thing is just, I feel like, storytelling. Your mission when you're speaking should be to arouse curiosity. My mission, if you will, should be to make you so interested in hearing what the next thing I'm going to say is that you can't leave. Again, that is the objective, even though in reality, they may have to go pick up the kid from school.
Right. It's the point where they literally pause and be like, I have to come back to this sort of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great reward with what we do here, that hopefully you're giving them so much value that it has shelf life. Not all topics do have shelf life, but if you can give them something that they want to sink their teeth into and really savor and really enjoy, and well, we know that podcasts are conversational. They really are just like two people having a chat over dinner, but want to adjust that a bit to say that it really should have a feeling of a dialogue, where you're in a dialogue with the audience. And that to me is my favorite kind of podcast. So those are three things right there. I would say, you plan, make them curious, create a sense of dialogue, and of course there's authenticity there if you're doing it all. And I think those are four pillars that you could build an effective podcast speaking gig on.
I love those four. Now let's go back into the planning piece. You did say have something planned, 2 or 3 areas where you can give them value. So someone, let's say they hear this podcast and they're like, you know what, this is all great, but let's say I want to give a live or an audio recording on this particular topic. How would I plan to make myself successful?
You have to put yourself in the shoes of your listener. And that is my way of operating in everything related to communication. If you want to be an effective communicator, you have to know what they want to learn from you. What's the most value you could give them? What problems do they have? And I know you have a sense that your audience may have some beginning creators. So we know that a beginning creator, well, how do I start? How do I do this? And a lot of that is trial and error. A lot of it is having to fail and to see, okay, that didn't work. But if you've got the right attitude, you try to fix it. Okay, it didn't work. We'll do something else.
That's how winning is done.
And confidence may be an issue too. I don't know that beginning podcasters, if a person wants to do a podcast badly enough and they're going to plunge into doing this, well, I got to give them props for that, because that means that they're getting over certain confidence issues right off the bat. They're pushing themselves through their comfort zone. That's very huge, right? But the other part of it is that you have to go out there and figure, okay, I'm up for whatever happens. And it may blow up in your face. That can happen. But a performer is somebody who is prepared to fall on their face and to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and start all over again. Because that's how you learn. That's how you grow. And I guess you have to be part of the growth. Putting out to the audience as this podcaster is this person who's going through a process. They're almost kind of witnessing the process in real time as it's happening.
Right. Awesome. Thank you for your time, Michael.
That was terrific. I've enjoyed this very much.